Welcome to episode 4 of this series about spiritual freedom, family pressure, and standing in grace. Today we are talking about something many believers experience but few understand. What happens when your own family punishes you for having boundaries? When you begin to grow, when you begin to think for yourself, when you begin to stand in truth. Some people will not celebrate your growth. They will react to it. The Apostle Paul wrote in Galatians chapter 6 verse 4 that every man must prove his own work. Your life is your responsibility before God, not your family's expectations, not their reactions, not their pressure. Today we will see why boundaries make unhealthy people uncomfortable, and why that does not mean you are wrong.
Galatians 6 verse 4. But let every man prove his own work, and then shall he have rejoicing in himself alone, and not in another.
Boundaries protect your peace. But unhealthy families see boundaries as betrayal. When control stops working, they call it rebellion. When pressure stops working, they call it disrespect. When guilt stops working, they call it sin. But Scripture never teaches you to live without wisdom. Grace does not mean allowing control. Grace does not mean losing your peace. Unhealthy families are not afraid of losing you, they are afraid of losing control over you. As long as guilt works, as long as pressure works, as long as fear works, they feel safe. But when you set boundaries, their system stops working, and when control disappears, they react with anger, silence, or guilt.
Stand fast therefore in the liberty wherewith Christ hath made us free.
Boundaries do not create problems, they reveal problems. When you say no, manipulation becomes visible. When you stop explaining everything, control becomes visible. When you stop accepting disrespect, their behavior becomes visible. And people who live in unhealthy patterns do not like being exposed.
For everyone that doeth evil hateth the light.
In unhealthy families, access feels like ownership. They believe they own your time, your emotions, your decisions. So, when you create space, they feel rejected. But boundaries are not rejection, boundaries are wisdom.
All things are lawful for me, but I will not be brought under the power of any.
Boundaries are not rebellion. Paul had boundaries, Christ had boundaries. Grace does not mean losing wisdom. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to protect your peace. You are allowed to walk away from pressure.
Let all things be done decently and in order.
When they get angry, you think you are wrong. When they go silent, you feel guilty. When they pressure you, you want to give in. But sometimes their reaction means the boundary is working.
Am I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth?
Thank you for watching episode 4. If this message spoke to you, it means you are growing. Not everyone will understand your boundaries. Not everyone will agree with your growth. But God sees your heart, and He gives you strength to stand. Thank you for being here. See you in the next episode.
The Lord is faithful, who shall establish you and keep you from evil.